Welcome to AstroEnergy with astrologer angel Shelley Overton. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the AstroEnergy show for what is today? My goodness, October 11th. So it's 10/11. Those are good numbers. 2016. My name is Shelley Overton, and I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. And it's wonderful to talk to you and to be here. It's wonderful to be able to do this out of my home and that my home is still here. So we've had a hurricane this week. So I was sitting here, as I get ready for the show every week. I'm like, okay, what events happened this week that I can talk about on the air? And, a lot of times it's like, okay, trying to remember what happened, what news stories. And I'm like, oh yeah, there was a hurricane. And so in the process of getting ready for the show, I actually was looking for my ephemeris. I have an ephemeris. It's an actual book which gives me all the dates and everything. I like to look it up that way. And then I also have a calendar that has an ephemeris at the back, and then it also shows me events of the week so that I can use those in the show. And I'm looking around. I'm like, I can't find it. And I know when I left, I actually left my house to go to my parents' house, which is a bit west of me, so that it was a little further inland, about 8 miles further inland. And when I left, I packed up everything that meant something to me, because I didn't honestly know if this house, which has a wooden frame, was going to survive the hurricane. So, they were saying 90 to 100 mile an hour winds inland. So, it was a really stressful time, but I packed up my ephemeris and my calendar, so I can't find them, but that's okay, because luckily, for those following at home, if you want an ephemeris for any year, it's the most amazing thing, and I love it. It's all online, and you can get it at astro.com. I just type in Google, I just type in the year I want the ephemeris, and then it brings up a page of the whole year with the tables exactly like the book I have. So I have that today instead of my book, so it will be a little more quiet. I won't have to flip pages. I'll just scroll down, and maybe I'll just do that every week. Who knows? So, yeah, it's been pretty rocking and rolling intense week, and I'm just looking at all my different charts here. I call up a bunch of charts, and let's see, 11 a.m., so that's right now, and I've just got to put the word now on it, or I'll get confused, and I'll probably do readings with somebody else getting like an October 19th chart with theirs, which is not good, because I do have a lot of charts up here. Let me just real quick call that up so I don't get confused. There we go. Okay, so today we are talking about the planets, and then we're going to talk about an asteroid, and the asteroid today is Pallas Athena. So in the sky today, and today's the 11th, so we've got about 5 days, and we're going to have a full moon. That'll be interesting, so we'll talk about that in a minute too. So today we have Uranus at 22 degrees retrograde, opposing an 18-degree sun in Libra. So, of course, as the moon gets closer and closer, he will conjunct Uranus and oppose the sun on, well, I guess I was going to say that, so I'll say that. But there aren't any other planets between Uranus and the North Node and Jupiter. So the North Node is at 12 degrees Virgo, Jupiter at 11, my mind just translated the Libra symbol into the number 11. How weird is that? It's actually a horizontal looking 11, but Jupiter is in Libra at 6, Mercury at 7 Libra, Sun at 18 degrees Libra, Venus at 21 Scorpio, Saturn at 12 degrees Sagittarius, Mars at 9 Capricorn, coming up on a conjunction to Pluto on the 19th. We have the moon at 17 Aquarius today, squaring Venus, so that'll be interesting. And Neptune in Pisces at 9 degrees in the South Node at 12 Pisces. So going around the chart, we have the opposition to the sun today. We have a sextile between the moon and Uranus, and the moon is in Aquarius, which Uranus rules. So there is probably, again, I have not looked at today's current news, so I don't really know what's going on right now. other than Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So that's kind of usual. But Moon in Aquarius. So Moon is emotion around home and nurturing and feeling comfortable with the situation. And the Moon does rule America because it is a Cancer sign by birth, July 4th. So having the Moon in Aquarius, it is the sign of humanitarianism, connectedness to people, and it's in sextile to Uranus in Aries. So its ruler, Aquarius's ruler, Uranus, is in the sign of Aries. So the Moon is kind of answering to Uranus today, being in Aquarius, and that is in Mars. And Mars is squaring Uranus in Aries is squaring Mars conjunct Pluto today. And so it is a continuation of this intense energy as Mars continues to come closer to Pluto and builds in the story. So it is a battle. It is a difference of opinion between ideologies. Again, Uranus and Aries wanting to move forth, be independent, be autonomous, have the say of what happens to self and what happens to society. The Moon also wants that. The Moon wants to nurture society, and Aquarius having the Moon in it means that we are looking at the energy of nurturing society and society nurturing us. So we've also got the Capricorn influence of Mars-Pluto squaring to Uranus, which is the structure of how things have been. But that being said, Pluto is no longer retrograde going back towards the past. He now wants to continue to move on towards the future, and Mars wants to help him do that. So we are moving forward, but we are shifting the structure, and Uranus is frustrated. Uranus was the energy last year that squared Pluto, and he did that to get him out of his comfort zone. If you know any Aquarians or anyone with strong Uranus in their chart, me being one, because it's near my sun in Virgo, and also right next to Pluto. So I have very, very strong Uranus-Pluto energy. Anyone with a strong Aquarius, and I've said this multiple times, my son has an Aquarius rising with 3 planets right on the cusp. So you're going to see them really challenging the norm or being frustrated because Uranus is retrograde at what is going on with the structure of government and the structure of society right now. It's really the point of contention. So Uranus is going to be going direct in, I want to say, December 28th, he goes direct. So he's kind of really battling it out for the last couple months, and our election day is November 8th, and November 8th, Mars is at 29 degrees and 5 minutes, which tells me it is kind of like an end time for whoever gets elected. There will be no second term. And I know I've heard others say, it's a one-term president, but on that election day, having Mars at such a late degree of Capricorn, it really is an ending of an energy. Having said that, we'll move on to some other things. I don't want to get into a lot of that, but it is going to be an ending energy on that day. Neptune at 9 degrees in conjunct both Mercury and Jupiter today, which is difficult. It's especially difficult for relationships. Mercury is a difficulty in talking deep issues. So Neptune wants to be all about the deep issues. He's retrograde, so he is going again back towards the past, reliving old emotional wounds, having a difficult time expressing that because of the Mercury in conjunct aspect. And then also Jupiter is right there next to Mercury, so he's expanding this difficulty. Mercury is just 1 degree past Jupiter, so from this point on, yesterday was probably even more difficult in the expression of what was going on. But today, as Mercury went past Jupiter, he's kind of getting away from more of the desire to express bluntly, and now he's moving towards the sun, which actually neither one is probably going to be really good for relationships, because Jupiter, again, will be very blunt and say, hey, this is the truth, this is it, boom, it's right there on the table. And Neptune will get its feelings hurt, so wherever Pisces is in your chart, that's where you're going to feel it. And then the sun is about the ego. So now the sun does want to cooperate in this energy. So it is ego, which can mean that we're talking from a place of lower vibration. We are not channeling the higher spiritual understanding, which Jupiter looks for the higher spiritual understanding of it, but can be rather blunt because he, being in Libra, is an air energy. So it's as if the information comes really quickly to us and we understand the nature of the relationship all of a sudden. And then we want to just, say, hey, this is what it is. It's looking for the self in the relationship. The Jupiter energy is about self-interest in the relationship. And so we're looking for that. We're looking for where we can take care of our own needs within that context. And then Mercury moving towards the ego, moving towards getting attention, think about Leo energy, Sun in Leo, or Sun rules Leo. So we're feeling some of that, I'm wounded. I want attention paid to me, and I need attention in the relationship. So that's going to be a bit of difficult energy coming up when Mercury conjuncts, which will be in about a week. The Sun trines the Moon today, so even though that is going to be difficult for the ego, we are definitely having an energy of cooperation or looking towards the bigger picture for society, which the Moon in Aquarius does, and Libra is the social worker of the zodiac. So it's about how can we cooperate. We want to cooperate, but the words are not resonating with the deeper side of us. And wherever Pisces is, that's where we're feeling this kind of frustration and discomfort because the words being said aren't in alignment with our deeper resonance or even how we believe things should go from our experience. So we are shifting and changing. Jupiter is moving towards expansion and transition. Okay, so we have Venus also, failed to mention, is in conjunct Uranus today. And Venus, I apologize. In a couple days, probably tomorrow. Let me look at my ephemeris real quick. I don't even know. What is today, the 11th? Nope, the 10th. Oh, and we just missed our 11/11 here. It's 11/12, which is good because it means progression. Okay, let me just find it on my ephemeris here. October 10th. So Venus will be at 22, which is where Uranus is tomorrow. And then she will be past Uranus the day after. So, yeah, she moves about a degree a day also. Mercury, you can just kind of general, you can assume Mercury rules about a degree a day. Venus transits about a degree a day, and the Sun also. That's why they always seem to cluster around each other in the zodiac. So Venus in conjunct Uranus, Venus in Scorpio, intense, brooding, and vindictive, but also deeply passionate and truth-seeking. Believe it or not, Venus is the truth seeker, and she finds out all the things that are out there, the dirt on people, and then when she gets to Sagittarius, she tells everybody. So that's coming. That's a little more than a week away, and right now, obviously, she dug up a lot of stuff on Donald Trump, and I think there's going to be even more stuff and probably some type of culmination of the energy by the time she gets to Saturn. And again, you just have to kind of count the degrees and figure out how many days. So it's 9 degrees till she hits Sagittarius and about 12 to 13 after that, which is 2 more weeks. So she's about a little over 3 weeks away from an exact conjunction with Saturn. And so that's going to mean that whatever's coming up now, there will be kind of a piper to pay, so to speak. And I'm not saying that will be without fight, because Sagittarius is a fire sign. So when Venus gets to Saturn, she's going to want to really fight it out. She's going to say, no, you can't get away with that, or you're not going. Well, Venus is women, and Sagittarius also rules the energy of sex drive. The fire signs are more of the sexual sex drive energy, masculine sex drive. So we're going to see an increasing connection to how women are treated and women standing up for that. And that's not just in politics, but it's in society. It's going to be the energy we're driving into, basically. And it will also have, again, Sagittarius rules foreign affairs and energy. So I definitely think that we're going to see more stories in a little over a week as Venus gets into Sagittarius. There might be some coming up, but more around foreign situations where women are standing up for themselves, speaking up, probably stuff associated with the Muslim religion and how women are treated within that, or some situation where a woman comes into the news who represents that ideology and is the projection icon for that ideology. So hopefully I'm not using words that aren't making sense today. But the thing I do want to focus on is the upcoming full moon, because before we do Pallas, but that energy, Venus conjunct Saturn and Sagittarius, definitely connects to Pallas Athena, the energy we are coming up on, well, for our discussion today. So the full moon, because that's going to happen before our next show, I want to talk about it. So the full moon, I have the chart for that, is going to be in, let's see, well, hang on, I'm just looking. Okay, so it'll be fairly early in the morning on October 16th. With it, my tongue is refusing to work for me today, on the 16th. And so we've got that energy in the sign of Aries, moon in Aries. So it's the culmination of this aggressive, assertive quality around shift and change with family members, because it's the moon. Aries, which is men around the family situation, and then unusual, unexpected things happening because of the Uranian connection. And also, again, it's a fight for independence, for the ability to express, for an inventive, innovative mindset. We are looking to push forward. So if you're looking to take full advantage of this energy, this is a great time for autonomous energy, for doing something on your own. I would kind of temper that with, like, if you're thinking of starting your own business, definitely it's entrepreneurship, and it's a connection to home businesses with the moon, because the moon rules the home. Uranus is entrepreneurship. It's going to have a connection to police and emergency vehicles and unexpected happenings with that, given the fact that the conjunction of moon to Uranus is going to be in a wide square to the conjunction of Mars to Pluto. It is going to be an increase of time around events again, but this can be also like the fires in California, because of the fire energy associated with Mars and then associated with Aries, which they are feeding back and forth energy in square. We also have Jupiter, which rules fire energy, which rules Sagittarius, in Libra, which is in opposition to the moon, full moon conjunction, and also the sun at 23 with Mercury coming up on the sun. So this energy is a tremendous T-square vibration, and an inconjunct between Jupiter and Neptune, and approaching inconjunct, which there's just so much energy going on this Sunday, I can't even begin to tell you, with a friction of shift and change, and people really feeling this intense struggle to be autonomous, to shift and change the structure of what is and move to the next level, get there. Finding cooperation, finding some kind of inroads with the sun and Mercury. We're talking about it. We're trying to talk. And the energy of this weekend is about how can we kibitz, how can we get together and throw the ideas out there. Uranus is an idea energy. Uranus and Moon want to take action. And Mars, Pluto want revenge and want to pretty much explode what is stagnant and what refuses to move. So it is potential energy of explosions, of bombs, of terrorism, of all of those things that we don't like and that we seem to be getting more and more of in the public eye. But it can also be earthquakes. Pluto in Capricorn is about changing Earth energy. Mars wants it to happen, is going to be the impetus, the trigger energy. So it could be volcanoes, it could be earthquakes, it could be major structural shifts, things happening, especially with a square to Mercury. That exactly on the moon, full moon, is going to be something that relates to energy of physical structures and accidents. So it could be something like that. and it also relates, there's just so many things it relates to. It relates to religion, it relates to accidents, it relates to transportation, relationships, commitment, internal structures, travel. There's definitely an energy around travel, traveling with a partner. So this weekend is intense. It's coming up. Know that it's there, but the counterbalance is to probably hold yourself up in home, because the only part of the sky not represented here, even though Moon represents Cancer, there are no planets in Cancer. And there is Vesta. So it is about securing the home and making sure that you know where everything is if it's needed in an emergency. It is an emergency energy. So the next couple weeks are a very strong time of emergency energy. We'll talk more about the Mars-Pluto conjunction next week in next week's show, because that's closer to when that is. Okay, so Pallas Athena, let me just get my notes and my glasses. And so, again, I researched online, and what I'm doing is I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pallas Athena, the asteroid, and then I'm going to tell you about the mythology behind her. So Pallas Athena is the second asteroid discovered after Ceres. She was discovered on March 28th of 1802, and she was counted as a planet, again, in the context of timeline. At that time, they hadn't discovered all the other asteroids. So we really only named it a planet because we didn't really know at that time that it was part of a larger asteroid belt, which falls between Neptune and Mars, I believe. I think I said that last week, because she was in the same asteroid belt as Ceres and all the others that they discovered in that timeline. So she was reclassified in 1845 after they discovered more of the group of the asteroids and in the asteroid belt. Her surface is a silicate composition on the surface. And so, yeah, she's the symbol that is like a square on its side with a little mark across the bottom of the stick that falls below. And I'm just going to, again, call up my asteroid data so I can look at the symbol and describe it. So it's kind of like Venus, only instead of a circle for the top, it is like a diamond, but the square on its side. So that's the symbol of Pallas. Anyway, she's a Grecian goddess. She's the goddess of wisdom, courage, inspiration, civilization, law and justice, mathematics, strength, war strategy, the arts, crafts, and skills. And in Roman mythology, her name was Minerva. So they have similar mythological gods and goddesses. They just assign different names. And then she's a patron goddess of heroic behavior. She is the virgin patroness of Athens, and Athens was named after her in Athens Parthenos. So the Parthenon is obviously an physical structure that is, I guess you would call it a temple. It was a temple to Athena. But she's the protector of the city, and she was worshipped in Greece. She was called different names in different cities, Mycenae, Thebes, and other cities in Greece were derivations and attributes to her. The lore states that she competed with Poseidon and won by creating the olive tree, and Athenians accepted her, quote, her gift and named the city after her, unquote. They built a statue to her as a temple. She wore a shield, a piece of armor, had piercing eyes, a helmet, and an extremely long spear, quote. Some believed she came from or was derived from the Minoan snake goddess in origin. Possibly, that's one theory. And I find it really interesting looking at mythology, because there are parts of the story that actually indicate that she was a real person and had a history, and then parts of the story that there are parables and stories assigned to her and names assigned to, gods and goddesses that are not, that they're, like one of the stories is that she actually was born of Zeus and came out of his head fully formed with armor on. And obviously that doesn't happen, but then there are other stories that indicate her heritage, which I'll get to in a minute. She was also the patroness of weaving. Metal crafts were her realm. Her brother was Ares, A-R-E-S, but he was the patron of violence, bloodlust, and slaughter. So again, kind of associated with what we consider to be Aries in energy, and he was the raw force of war. So she didn't take a lover or ever marry, so you can think of kind of imagery as being like Joan of Arc, and, that kind of energy of a warrior woman who acts of her own intention and alone, but if, many people look up to that. And then Parthenos was, okay, so epithet, which are different names for her. She had Parthenos at the end of one epithet, which means virgin. So, of course, Athena's, I can't remember exactly which version of it, but Athena Parthenos, there we go, which means that she was the virgin. And so hold on, let me make sure I'm getting it right on the right page. I have so many pages here. Okay, let's put that behind me. She preferred to use the mental strategy to settle disputes or predicaments, quote unquote. She condoned only those which she condoned or fought for as reasonable causes or to resolve conflict. And I kind of consider that you resolve conflict through fighting is pretty much war. So in a way, she is a goddess of war, but she really only did it for reasonable causes. She encouraged intuitive wisdom, and she fought the Trojan War on the side of the Achaeans, or Achaeans, A-C-H-A-E-N-S. And so that right there kind of tells me that there is more than mythology, that there may have been a woman who was assigned these attributes, and then she rose to mythological status. The little owl is a sacred bird of Athena, and it is somewhat her mascot. So they had a lot of epithets for her, and one was Hippia, so it's Athena Hippia, which rules horses, and Athena Hygeia, which is the attributes of health. And again, Parthenos and Pallas, so there are a lot of different epithets associated with her. Then in May, for 5 days in May, there is a ceremony for her called Plynteria, P-L-Y-N-T-E-R-I-A, and it's the Feast of Adorning. So I'm guessing that's kind of like, okay, now you won and we're going to adorn you. She was considered to be Zeus's daughter, but there are possible other origins of her, including being born outside Olympus and raised by the god Triton. She was invoked, Pallas was invoked as her father, sister, companion, or opponent in battle, but she killed her opponent, thereby gaining the name. And she is loosely associated with water by being born in a location, and the god Tritonus and of Poseidon. So that's a lot, but so those are the imageries of Pallas Athena. She is kind of like the goddess warrior, and also she rules over metalsmithing from having forged the tools of war. So if you are involved in any of these different types of activities, so metalsmithing or armor or war strategies, anything that kind of associates with her, she could be like your patron goddess that you could look up and associate with those things and take on as the imagery of it. And also, whenever you see Pallas in your chart, that's where you have the warrior innate in your chart, and the feminine warrior. So that is the imagery of Pallas Athena. That being said, it is the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to take a little break here, and then we will be back. right. That was a nice little break. My name is Shelley Overton, and you are listening to the AstroEnergy Show on Blog Talk Radio. And I am very happy to be here today. If you would like to call in and get a reading, the number is 347-994-3365. And let's take a call. We have 347. Hi, 347. How are you?
Hi, Shelley. It's Siba.
Hi, Siba. Hang on a second. Let me get your chart up here real quick. If I can find you. There you are. Awesome. Okay, what can I do for you today?
Just wanted to know, like, what kind of, like, pops out at you when you look at my chart.
What pops out at me? Well, what pops out at me is the connection of Neptune in your career. And, of course, everything I was mentioning before about, in conjunction with Neptune. And let me see, all the Libra planets right now are kind of not too happy with Neptune. So that means that you're having like a creative frustration going on that's kind of at odds with what you're trying to do with your career. And again, because Neptune in your house of career, so for those listening who want to understand this, you have a Gemini rising. That puts Aquarius at your midheaven at 15 degrees, so the moon just moved into your house of career. And so there's definitely today a feeling of like, I don't want to be told what to do in my career anymore. But that being said, Neptune's retrograde, and that means that the ideal situation is still kind of being put off because you're not moving forward with your dreams. Yeah. And Neptune goes direct. Coming up 20th of November. So 19th, 20th. So right around that time, it's also the shift of Sun into Sagittarius. So that will be a much better time for you for career because, that being said, so what's going on is Neptune goes direct in November. And that means, okay, now I can move forward with some more of bringing in my intuition, bringing in the vision I have for my career. But having the Sun move into Sagittarius, that's in your house of work. And he will be the first 9 days, he will be moving into a square to Neptune. Okay? So the Sun squaring Neptune right after he turns direct. So the last week of November, I don't know if you work for someone or yourself, but
I work for the government.
For the government. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be...
but I work in the airport, so that was the whole Sagittarius thing.
Oh, no.
I was with TSA.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be frustrating at the airport because that, the Sagittarius rules the airlines, and Saturn is in Sagittarius, and you're also approaching your Saturn return, within 4 degrees of your Saturn return. And... So what happens is when the Sun moves in, and actually I think even in that time I'm going to do a chart for November 20th because I think Venus might already be out of it by then, but Venus has to go through Sagittarius between now and then, so it'll be interesting to see where she's at. She's in Capricorn by then. So that will be something else altogether. Actually, interesting, Venus will be on your Neptune around that time. So, so the end of November is going to be an interesting time. What I see that is happening is you're going to be more inclined to combine your efforts with another person at that time because
I've already been like that. I've been feeling compelled to, like, want to connect with someone, not even necessarily, like, in a relationship, but just, like, to have, like, a companion. And it's like nothing is working. Even my friends, even like my female friends, like I'm straight, and it's just weird. It's like everybody's like repelling to me, like, or either they'll get cool with me and then I'll get like repulsed by them. I don't know. I just been really isolating myself lately, but I don't want to be isolated.
I feel the exact same way. Just so you know, I feel the same way. It's like I know my best interests will be interacting with people, yet I just want them to leave me alone a lot of the time.
Yes.
And I get that. So I completely get
That's
that
me
feeling.
all the way.
I think part of that is probably a Virgo hangover.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is in Virgo too still. But it's
I
also
definitely
Neptune
moved
retro.
the last time you told me that I was going to move, and I actually moved, and I moved further away from my family. So
good.
You did say that.
You. Yeah.
I actually moved in September, like in Virgo, so it was funny.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I don't remember if that was. I think that was Saturn. Where was Saturn in September? I don't remember. That wasn't too long ago. So it was at the end degrees of your house of work. So now Saturn is in your house of marriage and partnership, and that's also saying you need to travel. If you want to find a partner, you need to connect to people of other cultures or at a distance, like people who are not where you are. That's what that energy is. Or education. So it can be education, it could be religion, it could be travel. Any of those.
I was thinking about going back to school as well.
And then there you go, education. Yeah, the one I don't mention, yeah. Or no, maybe I did mention, I don't remember. Yeah, definitely education. So that's another great place to meet someone. You've got a lot of strong energy about not being told what to do in relationships. So this next year, especially with Jupiter through Libra, in your house of romance, in the Leo house, there's a lot of ego and energy around having boundaries in relationships, but yet wanting the relationship. And that's Jupiter in Libra. It's like I'm focused on relationships. I'm thinking I want it, but I'm just not seeing how I can do that because I really can't stand what I'm getting in the past from relationships. So
that's exactly
this
how
year,
I feel.
yeah, this year is about, well, actually even the next 2 years in relationships are about developing who you are and what you need to have so that when you attract that person, you're attracting someone who is cooperative with you, who works in the same way that you need to work so that you're not fighting against them. The thing is
there
right
any
now,
way to tell, I'm sorry, is there any way to tell, like, what kind of man that I, like, you know, like, do you see what kind of man I would go for? Because for some reason I go for very, like, blunt, like, kind of like alpha male type guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Okay. Well, you have a couple of conflicting things in your chart. So you have a Gemini rising, which makes you rather fickle in relationships. I'm just going to lay it out there bluntly. Because
that's true.
You cannot just settle on one person, and he bores you after a while. That's Gemini.
Very true.
So you have Moon and Venus within 4 degrees of each other right after the horizon, like right in your first house of Gemini. So what I encourage, I guess it kind of depends on what it is you want out of a relationship, but you definitely have the energy of flirtation and transience in your chart with regard to your behavior because you're Venus, your Moon. So you're very youthful in your attitude. Gemini energy makes you come across as very charismatic and happy-go-lucky, and so does Sagittarius. They're opposite signs. But you also have Saturn in Sag, and you have Uranus in Sagittarius, both retrograde in the house of marriage and partnership. So with your Venus in Gemini, your Moon in Gemini, Saturn and Uranus in your house of marriage and partnership, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to have a single partner just because Uranus alone in your house of marriage and partnership would say you have multiple marriages. Saturn likes to have consistency, but in Sagittarius, he's not as consistent. He wants to keep moving and keep things going, and not stuck. So committing to a marriage is difficult. But they're both retrograde, which is a potential shining light for you because Saturn retrograde means he wants to go back towards someone he knows and someone who's familiar.
But that's my story. I always go back to, like, old partners. I want to find someone new, but it's like they just keep coming back, like ghosts, they just won't.
Well, I think right now it's probably from now to the end of the year is more about that. We've got Neptune retrograde. Neptune is your greatest desire, and that brings in old, deep emotional, like your true love or your love of your life kind of people will come back in, the ones that you had a hard time getting over. And, and then having your Saturn on your natal Saturn, which is retrograde, that will bring about old lovers too. But once Saturn gets through Sagittarius, I think if you're looking to find a commitment, the Capricorn Cancer energy in your chart is going to be more solid for you. So if you look to someone who's Capricorn and maybe do something with that energy, like right now is a really great time for commitment around, well, I shouldn't say that. You do have a lot of planets that are opposing and squaring each other, but right now the issues for your chart is romance for you is the house of Libra, which is partnering. And you have Jupiter, which is expanding that. They're both squaring Capricorn, Mars, and Pluto, but those are in your house of commitment. And they're coming up on each other, which is the coming together of the commitment. So our things, even though it can be difficult and frustrating sometimes, you do have energies that are promoting a connectedness. So you also have Jupiter approaching a trine to your moon Venus conjunction in your first house. So let me just try and work out the dynamics of this, because it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, everything's supporting a really happy, like coordinating.
I have, like,
it's going to
very, it's like a double-edged sword in my chart. Like it's always two things like going against each other.
Well, but the beauty of your chart and the beauty of anything is that you can find a common thing. It's kind of like, yes, orange and blue are opposite, but they can find a commonality in red, or something or purples, or like I think in terms of colors. But if you have like certain energies, like, okay, you can coordinate a common sign, okay, like that might actually be the bridge between two difficult energies. So for you, Libra probably is a good cooperation energy in some regards, but you will also have all your Cancer planets going, well, I'm not sure about Libra. I don't know if I want to do Libra, because they square each other. But if you're trying to cooperate your sense of self and your partner in your marriage, you've got Sagittarius, Gemini, and what gets along with both of those is Libra. And then you have the Capricorn in your house of commitment, and it squares your Libra. Everybody's does, though. Commitment squares romance. It just does in everybody's chart. So that, if you have planets in both of those, you're going to always have a square between your planets of romance and commitment. And I think that's probably why marriage has such a difficult road, because you've got romance, which is how you fall in love. But when you commit, you suck all of that out, and it gets very stoic and responsible. So that sucks all the fun out of marriage. So I'm looking at your chart going, why do you have to be married? That's kind of what I say for your chart.
Yeah, I never wanted like a typical marriage. I was always like, I've always felt it was just like a business thing. So I never really cared about that. I cared more about like the fairy tale dream, in the sense of having that commitment forever, not necessarily the paperwork behind it. But then sometimes the reality sets in, and it's like, okay, what if there's an accident and I need someone to make decisions for me? Like, so I think about like both sides.
Well, that's true.
Naturally, I'm just like,
You have a Gemini, and you and I can both talk, because I have enough Mercury in my chart that I could understand you while I'm talking. You can talk and understand me while I'm talking. So
I've always been like that.
Probably be like, what? You're both talking at the same time, but we get it. So,
sorry.
No, actually, your chart, I'm looking at your chart with the Venus, Moon, Gemini, and the first off, you kind of know what you want with yourself and with your life romantically. You're just not really accepting it on some level. And definitely you have Neptune and Capricorn, so you need a certain paternalism in your marriage or in your relationship, in the commitment, the committed energy, especially with Saturn in your house of commitment. You need to know that they're there. You might, and especially with Uranus in your house of marriage, there's got to be an alternative for you. There has to be an alternative way of looking at the partnership. So for you, it isn't necessarily this is the be-all, end-all, and this is the only one, but you need to know that the person in your life is the one that you can come back to consistently, and they're going to be consistent for you. So somewhere in your paradigm, you have to shift to, what can I do to get my needs met? But it has to be an alternative. It can't be traditional. It has to be something that's unique and different. And so that could be, throwing things out there, could be like a weekend partnership, like where they're not there all the time, which
well, I've always been on my own. I've always lived like since I was 17. So I'm so used to being by myself that I don't even know how to really be with another person. So
right, I get that.
Whoever's with me has to understand, that I can't. I
Well,
wouldn't do
again,
the day-to-day stuff.
right. And so the other side of it, I mean, with all the Sagittarius in your partnership, is it could be long distance. It could be something where you travel to, like you really want to be with each other, committed-wise, like you really love each other, but you're just in different cities, and then you travel back and forth to see each other. It could be something like that, but it has to be unique, and it has to be special to you that way,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
Thank
that's kind of the energy, and romance is definitely on the card for the next year, and creativity. You're wanting, you need to feel, especially with Jupiter in the 5th house in Libra, it wants to get attention from a partner. So I would say a lovely 1-year-long fling would do really good for you.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
To be with, and enjoy the energy, and somebody who's going to teach you about that side of your nature, about your partnering and your habits of partnering. And don't put so much stress and strictness on it, but you have Mars in Cancer, you have Mercury in Cancer, you have Sun in Cancer in the House of Taurus.
I worry a lot.
There is about money.
Yes, I'm always worried about money.
I get it, because Cancer in and of itself worries about money, and put it in the House of Taurus, and it's like, nope, it's about the money. So, I mean, you do you with your money and yourself, and then find somebody to have fun with, because that's what your chart wants. Your chart wants to be fun and not committed, not, tagged down.
One slight question. With the Neptune in the 8th, right? Is that like a sign of like kind of being bad with money, and that's why I'm always worried about money?
Of kind of being what with money?
Oh, I'm sorry. Kind of being like a little like irresponsible with money, because I feel like that's why I'm so worried about it, because I feel like I don't want to.
Not necessarily. What it is. Okay, so Neptune in Capricorn would be very idealistic about, everybody just needs to own their own crap. They all, like that energy, probably more than any other, would be like, you know what? I'm not paying your taxes. You pay your own tax. I don't want, the free ride, quote unquote, that whole free ride mentality. Like, no, you've got to take care of yourself. But Neptune itself is very idealistic. And in Capricorn, it's idealistic about structure and about how everybody needs to just own things, and they all have to be responsible, and why aren't you being responsible? Yours is retrograde, so it gets a little bit more emotional. It can be less strict and more idealistic, where, like, I have Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, in Pisces, which is Neptune's sign. So it's the opposite of that, but mine's retrograde also. So I'm very pragmatic about things that might be addictive. I'm not as addictive, whereas Neptune and Capricorn retrograde could be more of an addictive personality around partnering, around passions, around,
And I feel like I attract people that are addicted to me. Like, it's so weird. Like, they won't leave me alone. I thought it was like a money thing because it was the 8th house, but I forgot that that's also sex. And for some reason, I always attract like near-death situations. So,
it also, Neptune retrograde in Capricorn in your 8th also says that you can look to paternal structures or father figures to be your stable income on some level. Like you look for the structure, and in the 8th house, it is a parent. And for you, if you're straight, it would be your mother figure. So there might be some leaning on, like, you know what, I want to, but ironically, it's in Capricorn, which is also father. It
the
just
father.
represents,
and my father's a Capricorn.
Is he? Okay, so this is probably more of a daddy's girl kind
of thing. And my mother's
like,
a Cancer.
Okay. Well, she's also in your money house. She's in your money house, and he's in your joint financial house. And, that's the Capricorn energy of the father. But, it's relying on family as your stronghold and knowing that they're stable for you. So,
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
It made a lot of sense.
Okay, wonderful.
You.
Well, thanks for the call. You're welcome. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to take another call. Hi, 909. How are you? Hello. You got to take your mute off. 909. This is Shelley. Are you there? Hello. Is this Angie? Angie, are you there?
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Angie. How are you?
Hi. I was just listening in. I
Oh,
had the
okay.
day off, and I thought
I'm
I'd email in.
sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. One
No
of the
worries.
times I noticed that you didn't have your hand raised. So, if you want, I don't have a lot of people waiting in line. I could give you a reading if you want.
Okay. Okay. What
Okay.
do you see for this? I'm going to an event this weekend,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh.
after hearing everything I've heard, I think I want to stay home.
Yeah. Well, is it Sunday?
Saturday.
Is the event on
A wedding.
Sunday? Oh, it's on Saturday. It's a wedding?
A wedding. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a really intense day for a wedding.
Yeah. And
Hold on a second. Let me just
kind of
call up my...
contentious. It's with a lot of other family members, and
Oh, really? Oh, are they
kind of
saying,
a crazy
yeah, that...
week, and I just am feeling like would really rather stay home.
Well,
on top of everything
if
I'm hearing about Neptune.
Yeah, if you're not having to go, if you're not in the wedding party or something, I would probably on a full moon in Aries, opposing all that Libra stuff. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And on top of it, I can tell you, chances are you're even more strongly not going to want to go, because on that day the moon joins Uranus at the end degrees of your house of home and family. So the full moon is in your house of home and family, meaning I just want to be here and I want to be left alone and not told what to do and not have to dress up and wear sweatpants.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
my husband's a big part of the wedding too, and he has to be there, and I know he wants to be there, but I would rather not.
If it's any consolation, something may happen in the wedding that changes it somehow, so it might not end up happening anyway. So, are you in California?
Yes.
Yeah. Huh? Well, yeah, just pay attention to news stories, and honestly, I think you're just going to not want to go. I can see that.
Yeah.
So, does
he
he have
gave me
to
a
be in
reading
it?
before. No, he's not in it, but it's one of his family members. Yeah, we spoke before. We had a reading over the phone.
I remember
I'm just
that.
wondering what do you see coming up, kind of based on what we talked about?
In our reading?
Yeah, well, not that, but
well, honestly,
not.
I'm sorry you don't remember the details of the reading. I could easily
no,
look it up.
It's based on my chart.
But
it'll probably show up to you in the chart.
Well, I
can
can tell you, Saturn is 2 degrees off of your rising sign, and so he is very close to going into your first house. So again, that's also hiding away, wanting to wrap up the story around subconscious issues, and there's some energy about kind of going back and forth between what you should do and what you want to do. And when he moves into the first house, that's going to be much more strong energy towards doing what you want to do and moving away from what you have to do or what other people expect you to do. And you can be very susceptible right at this time to how others treat you and wanting to, normally it would be an inclination towards doing what other people want, but with Saturn and Sagittarius, it can be more of, I need my freedom and people are restricting me. So it's not as much about always having to do what people want as much as really wanting to get away from what their expectations are of you. And Venus also coming up on that day, on Saturday, you have Venus at 27 Scorpio in the 12th house. So it's like an ending energy around commitment. It's honestly not a day I would have picked for a wedding, and I would say that being said, I would almost guesstimate that something's going to happen. It might be called off, especially with the late degree moon in Aries. There's going to be, it's a big day for a fight. You have an inconjunction between the moon and Venus on that day, and the moon's in Aries and Venus is in Scorpio. And both sides have their point of view. And even I would say a mother-daughter, a mother-in-law, mother of the bride, future mother-in-law kind of thing. There's some intense energy going on there. But yeah, it's also that day, N degrees, and usually the moon at an N degree. See, I'm looking at 11 in the morning. What time is the wedding?
5.
Okay, so it's later in the day, so the moon will be in Taurus. Okay, that'll be better for it. Yeah, moon will be in Taurus, but Venus is still at N degrees, so yeah, I mean, I hesitate because. Pardon me?
Does this mean this energy? Does it mean that I will witness it, or that I will be a part of it, or could it be either?
You do have Sun and Mercury in your midheaven, and it's in Libra, which means that there is Mercury is like if you have to be a witness as like paperwork or something, that would fall in alignment with it. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, am I going to see this play out, or will I be the person that this all happens to? You're talking about fights.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This energy.
Well, actually, I was thinking that myself when I was giving it to you, that it's potentially something in your chart, actually.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking that while I was telling you, like, those are the energies that this person, she's starting her day out with these energies, but fortunately, the time of the wedding, the moon will be in Taurus. But for you, the morning time, you've got Venus at 27 in your 12th house. So it's like your desires are very strong, and you really, I mean, Venus in the 12th house at late degrees, you really are extremely sensitive and really kind of depressed on some level, and you want to be away from people. Your desire strongly is to be away from people, yet the moon mother energy is in Aries saying, no, you've got to go do this thing. It's a family connection, or it's a family obligation kind of thing, and that could run at cross purposes to you. There's some kind of mother, and then on top of it, the moon on Saturday earlier in the day is going to be squaring Mars in Cancer and Venus in Cancer, actually the day before that night. So it's kind of like a building energy. The moon energy to the full moon in the morning is a building energy in your world, and it definitely relates to mom on some level, and probably a fight around mom energy. Yeah.
Wow. What about
multiple?
Can you tell me
things?
That's all a whole lot of negative energy.
I know.
Energy. When is it going to turn around for me? When overall will this all kind of just move into a whole new direction for me? Because I think that's what I'm heading toward. I feel I'm heading towards something new and different. But when?
Sure. Well, soon, like within, I would say you've got Saturn going into your first house, which is like you're starting to own your own desire for action. And right now it's in the water energy of the 12th house, but within 2 degrees, and I can tell you when that is. If you give me a second here. So you need Saturn at 1449, which is the 6th of November. So that's the day that Saturn goes into your first house and gets out of your 12th. So a lot of that kind of, there's probably some type of psychological tug on you that just feels so burdensome. That's you're going to feel like I am done. And I think you're actually going to feel like I have got to take action in my life, and it's going to happen after November 6th. That's when Saturn goes into your first house, and you have to own your desire for travel, your desire for expansion, your desire for education, learning, all this stuff that makes you feel free. That's when you start to really own those things. And right now, Pluto, fortunately, is at the N degrees, the last 4 degrees of your house of self, and Mars is coming up on it on the 19th. So this full next month is a major shift in the structure, in the direction, in the systems that you really have been used to. The ways of behaving, the ways of looking at yourself are majorly shifting, and really it's just going to get stronger and stronger over the next year as Pluto's getting closer and closer to getting to the house of money. Mars, again, on the 19th, Mars joins Pluto at 15 Capricorn, which is kind of a break point. And I think this last weekend was a major break point as well with the Mercury Uranus in conjunct.
Sure.
That it created
so
much of the stuff that's going on right now. The major news stories, that was what happened. And definitely Jupiter Neptune in conjunct right now is also causing a lot of the political upheaval and also emotional upheaval for you. It's in career versus Neptune is getting your needs met through expression. Okay, so like conversation. Neptune in your third house is really strong around telling your story, getting that story out. And you have natal Saturn in Pisces, so you need to be writing about this. Like you're a writer or work with pictures and photography to get the story out.
Yeah.
It's hugely about your story and your ancestry and how you express the information that you understand, but you can't be thwarted by others. And you have all of Sun, Uranus, Pluto conjunction Mercury in your chart. I remember that. That's all in your house of the Sagittarius house, the ninth house, is wanting you to travel and express on a larger scale with people that want to give you the freedom of expression. That's what you're looking for. So after the first week of November, it'll get much better for you. Okay.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. And that goes for career too, right? I'm pretty happy with my career now, but
because,
I just wonder.
You want to get Saturn farther away from a square because when he went into Sagittarius, he squared your natal Saturn. So the farther in he gets, the closer he gets to a sextile, which is going to be more beneficial to you. And that's about in January of 2018, which is just over a year away, he gets into Capricorn. And that's going to be a major shift of the structures and the responsibilities you're going to feel. It's going to be a sextile to your natal Saturn. So that's a really strong time of actually manifesting all of the stuff that you've been really wanting to express on a larger scale. So.
Wow. A lot going on for me, I guess. Thank you so much, Shelley.
Necessarily, you're welcome. It's not a straight path necessarily, but it's getting you there. You will get there. Okay.
Yeah, it never is.
Well, I want to thank you for. Yeah, thank you for filling up the last 10 minutes of my show because.
Oh, no worries.
I didn't have anyone else with their hand raised, so I appreciate it.
How's your weather there? Is it all? Did you survive all that?
It's really good after the hurricane because it sucked all the humidity out. We had what was like our first fall day. For 2 days, and now we have the Aquarius moon and then going into Pisces moon soon, so it's getting overcast. It's all overcast today and tomorrow, and it's all humid and overcast, but it's cooler. It's only going to be 81 degrees today, so I'm very happy about that, finally.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's starting to feel like fall.
Yes, finally,
here in
a little
California
bit.
As well. You get that feeling, and there's something in the air. It just feels like fall. Yes.
It just makes you feel more alert and more alive, and I'm just like, wow, there's such a difference in weather and how it makes you feel when it shifts like that. I just love it.
So that on top of everything that culminated over my last weekend is why I thought I better go ahead and raise my hand.
Well, I'm very happy that you did. I'm so glad that I was able to catch you and talk to you again. So anyway, if you want to know more, just give me a call and contact you. And thank you so much.
Maybe I will.
All right.
Thank you, Shelley.
Take care.
Bye.
Welcome. Bye, Angie. Bye. Okay, that's the end of the show. My name is Shelley Overton. If you'd like a reading, private reading, you can get me at astrologerangel.com. And also check out some of my artwork at astroart.net. It is related to astrology, so you should like it. Anyway, that's the show for this week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care, and see you later. Bye. Thanks for stopping by AstroEnergy this week. If you would like to get a hold of Shelley Overton, you can get her at astrologerangel.com, on Facebook at AstroEnergy or Astrologer Angel. The music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com with additional music by Ironwood Rain. Check them out on the net at ironwoodраin.com.